as I thought when I came tonight, I really didn't know what to expect. I kind of was expecting a young crowd, you know, not that you're an old crowd, but I was thinking that I was going to be talking to some youngsters,
Right.
and not so much adults.
Right.
But as it is, I just want to elaborate a little bit on what I went through as far as baseball was concerned. I know Mr. Ebony mentioned our good friend Frank Robinson, who just passed, but I had the fortune to play against Frank when he played for Cincinnati and with the Baltimore Orioles. So, and a little bit about him, he was the only player that won MVP in both leagues, in the American League and in the National League. So that in itself was a feat. He also, I believe, was probably in the top 3 or 4 in home runs lifetime. He was just a fabulous player. And he goes unmentioned because all we hear about in the black community is Willie Mays, Hank Aaron. You know, so not a lot of people know about Frank Robinson. And if you ever get the opportunity, just look him up a little bit, and you'll be very surprised at how good and how well he did as a professional baseball player. And one more note, Frank Robinson also became the first black manager in the American League. He later on he actually became a player coach. He played a little bit for Cleveland, but he also was a manager, and he was the first black manager. So, and he did well, and he later on managed a couple other teams. So a little bit about me. Okay, I grew up in Paterson. I grew up in the Riverside section of Paterson. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that area. That's down on where Bunker Hill is, but on the other side. So I lived on the east side of River Street, 6th Ave, 5th Ave, and I lived around East 11th Street. A lot of you may not remember, there was a place called Barberzon that was down there. They employed a lot of blacks over there. And there was another place that was right there called Facils, and it also employed a lot of black people. But as it was, I grew up in that neighborhood, and my thing was I played stickball. But I used to have, in that area I lived in was nothing but Italian people. So when I grew up, I had a good friend, a white boy. His name was Vinny. Now, Vinny was a baseball nut. He wanted, that's all he ever wanted to do, be a baseball player. And me, I really didn't care at that time, but he'd come wake me up every Saturday morning, ask me to hit him baseballs, because he wanted to be an infielder. So I would hit him grounders, and in turn, he would hit me fly balls. So I learned to have a love for baseball. Then when I was 8 years old, in our area, we had a baseball team. It was a little league team, and it was from 8 years old to 12 years old. And I started playing, and the only position they had for me was a catcher. Now, mind you, I was a left-handed person. I threw left-handed. So most catchers are right-handed, but in order for me to be able to play, because they had kids at the other positions, I had to take a catcher. So I became a left-handed catcher. And as it was, it helped me, because when I went to the bat, I wasn't afraid of the ball at all. So therefore, I built up that, that toughness about not worrying about being hit by the ball, because I'm getting hit all the time. Every time somebody throw a pitch, hit the ground, I'm getting hit in the knee and the leg. And so therefore, it helped me. As I continued on and went to high school, I played baseball in high school, but I didn't have that great love for baseball that I had for basketball. So when I got to high school, I was a basketball player. I wanted to play basketball, and I did play basketball I went to Eastside High School,
Yeah.
Right? I played for East Side. I played basketball as well as baseball and football. And as it was, I made all state in all three sports, but it turned out that I had more scholarships for basketball than I did for baseball. So what happened was, even though I had that great love for basketball, when I left school, I played on what at that time was the American Legion baseball team. Now the American Legion baseball team was 15 to 18. And we had a lot of good kids, good players, and we were fortunate enough to win everything in New Jersey. And we were invited to Maryland, and what was called, it was like the tournament. It was a big tournament, and if you won that tournament, you got to travel to North Dakota. I did real well down there, and all of a sudden, without me understanding what was going on, all these scouts were coming up to me wanting to know, where are you from? How old are you? What city are you from? How, you go to college? Do you do this? And I'm answering all these questions. Come to find out, they wanted to sign me to play professional baseball. Now, mind you, my father was still alive at the time, and he was an avid baseball fan. He was a Dodger fan, as well as most of us were and are. And he had a little apprehension about me going to play professional baseball because he wanted me to go to college and finish college. Because, as your parents growing up in those days, they wanted you to do better than they did. My mother and father, unfortunately, didn't have that education like they afforded us. I come from a family of 10, so they made sure that we all went to high school and we all graduated high school. But as it was, when the scouts came around, my father finally said, yeah, well, we'll talk. While I was there, we were at the University of Maryland, and this was in the 60s. I believe it was around 62. And Maryland wanted to offer me a baseball scholarship, but they wanted me to be the first black player there. And my father told them, no, my son is not going to be the first black at your university, because he didn't want me to go through what Jackie Robinson went through and what he witnessed growing up. So he nixed that. As it turned out, I signed a baseball contract in September of that year just to play for the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, mind you, they didn't give me no big bonus like some of the white guys that got during that time frame, like the Ed Kranepool and Rusty Staubbaum. Those are local guys. But as it was, I think I signed for like $8,000. And back then, I guess it was considered a lot of money. And, I gave it to my parents. And I went away to play my first major league season. Well, actually, it was the minors, but I had signed the contract. And I went away to play, and we were supposed to go to Florida for spring training. Now, mind you, I got a letter from the Philadelphia Phillies, who I signed with, saying that where we'd be staying at the Jack Tar Hotel, and that other players would be staying there as well. They put me on a train, and we took the train all the way to a place called Leesburg, Florida. We get to Leesburg, Florida, and they call in names, Now we got a lot of black kids, and as well as whites, and they're calling the blacks and telling all the blacks go to the side, and all the whites go to this side. So, after everybody's called, now we come to find out the blacks are not staying at Jack Tar Hotel. It was a form letter, but we never saw Jack Tar Hotel. All the white players stayed in the Jack Tar. We stayed in private homes. They paid people to give us a place to sleep, And at the end of the day, when our practice was over, they paid the people to feed us all. We all ate together in the back of a lounge that they had. So we never saw the white guys until we went to the field. That's the only time we saw them. And that was my first experience with being prejudiced against, because when my parents used to go south to visit their grandparents or their mother and father, I never went. I stayed home and played ball. So after experiencing that, I said, oh wow, this is crazy. You know, this is how it is. So as it went on, I did really well. My first year professional ball, and the Philadelphia Phillies invited me to the major leagues. And I stayed in the major leagues from 1964 to 1975. I spent 7 years with the Philadelphia Phillies, and I was traded to in 71, I was traded to the Milwaukee Brewers. I spent 4.5 seasons there, and then I spent a half a season in Minnesota. And after I left Minnesota, a Japanese team bought my contract from Minnesota, and I played in Japan for a short period of time before I got sick and came back to the United States. And I was offered to play in the majors again, but they wanted me, after I've already completed 12 years of professional baseball, they wanted me to go back to the minor leagues. So now I'm telling them, okay, I'll go back, but can I get minimum major league salary? Which at that time was like, I think $40,000. And they didn't want to give that to me. They wanted to give me 25. So I said, no, that's okay. Guess I'll be a 9 to 5. So that was the end of my career. And to this day, I still keep up with baseball. And I did go down and play in Delaware for about 3 years in a semi-pro league. But other than that, that was the end of my career. I have 2 sons that I encourage to play sports, I'll put it that way. I introduced them to every sport possible. I introduced them to basketball, baseball, football, golf, but I could never, and one of my sons was an excellent baseball player, but the one that was the excellent baseball player, he chose basketball. He wanted to be a basketball player. Now, mind you, he's only about 5'10", and he's a big, husky kid, but he was an excellent baseball player. He made the all-star team as a 10-year-old, an 11-year-old, but every time the coach would call, he said, Dad, tell him I'm not here. I'm not here. Because he didn't want to play anymore. I mean, not that he couldn't play, and he probably could still go out there and play right now, but he just had that love of basketball, so I refused to push him in that direction. And my other son, his name is Jalen, now he has excellent size for whatever sport. And he is a basketball player, but he loves football. And his life was going to be about football. So as it was, he played in high school, and then for some reason he lost his love for football and decided, well, nah, Dad, I don't want to play football no more. Now they're both away at college. My son still has his love for basketball, and now my other son, his love for football is coming back. So hopefully he will do well and get back into football, which I know he will do well if he puts his mind to it. Now, if you guys have any questions, that I'll be more than happy to answer for you.